Bitcoin has had a rough couple of weeks, but I think things are going to turn around for Bitcoin, and they're going to turn around fairly quickly. In this video, I'm going to talk about the reasons why. I'm going to go over some of the more important points of what we have to talk about, including the Fed and what the Fed is going to be doing and how that's going to impact Bitcoin. We're also going to talk about the CBOE's plans to launch some new trading vehicles for Bitcoin, and we're also going to cover the Bitcoin leverage, liquidation levels, and the Bitcoin options as well. So stick with me here. So Bitcoin right now is sitting at support right at about 110 or around close to there. It has to climb up to 115 in order to get rid of some of the resistance, the overhead resistance here. And then in order for it to go past the super trend indicator on the daily, it has to go above this 117 level. And as soon as it does go past this 117 level, it'll flip back to buy, and then Bitcoin could potentially go on a tear after that. And the reason why I think that this is actually going to be the likely outcome for Bitcoin is the fact that there are many, many explosive potential catalysts in the future. So the first one I want to talk about is what's going on with the Bitcoin options expiry. So Bitcoin options expiry on the 12th of September, the end of this week. We can see here that there are more bears than bulls. Put call ratio is 1.46. Max pain price sitting at about 113. That max pain price is still currently above where we are right now at about 111. So I do expect that Bitcoin by the end of the week will probably move closer to this 113 level than where it is right now. However, if you go to the 26th of September, you can see here there is $16 billion worth of options set to expire at a max pain price close to where it is right now. Now, this means we're going to see massive volatility by the end of the month, and I think that this volatility is going to be used to generate big returns for Bitcoin. Another reason where we could actually see a catalyst to push the Bitcoin price much higher is the liquidation levels. All this liquidity that's sitting currently in the market, I talked about in my last video last week that it was up to about 15, 16 billion. It has been climbing to about $20 billion worth of shorts that would be liquidated if Bitcoin got above 125. Okay, so if Bitcoin goes above 125, I think that would easily propel it to 130 plus in short order. The simple fact here is that there's a large concentration of these shorts that are sitting even at this level right here, about 113 going all the way to 114, and then it will cascade higher and higher and higher as things move higher. The shorts have been lining up right now for Bitcoin. They've been taking advantage of the fact that it's been extremely weak, and they have been piling in, and you can see here in liquidation leverage that they are over leveraged. If you take a look at the crypto quant estimated leverage ratio for all exchanges, you can see this leverage has been climbing all year, and this is the total leverage for longs and shorts. The market in general is being more leveraged by these traders. Okay, now another big catalyst we can see here is, potentially speaking, the Fed. This is the CME Group Fed Watch tool. They have a meeting on the 17th of September, so very, very soon. And you can see here that they basically priced in the prediction here is going to be a 25 basis point cut with a potential, a small potential, of an even larger basis cut of 50 points. Now, going back to our Bitcoin chart, if you overlay the Fed funds rate with the Bitcoin chart here and zoom out a little bit, you can see how Bitcoin is affected by the Fed funds rate. This orange line is your Fed funds rate, and then you can see the Bitcoin chart right here. It has a very strong inverse correlation. So as the Fed fund rate goes up, Bitcoin tends to go down. As the Fed fund rate goes down, Bitcoin tends to go up. And this is not it's coincidental. This is basically by design, because the Fed having a lower interest rate means that potentially you have cheaper money. In addition to that, when the Fed lowers rates, they tend to increase the amount of printing they're doing for the dollar. Okay, so the M2, the money supply, tends to go up, and Bitcoin benefits from that because Bitcoin is an excellent store of value, and investors flee to times of crisis into safe haven assets like Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin will continue to move higher as long as the Fed cuts rates. And I do think it's a matter of when and not if. And I think that it's very possible we see those rate cuts happen in about a week. So that's something to watch out for. Now, whether or not we get 25 versus 50, that's up in the air. 25, very likely. 50, still likely, but much less likely than the 25. If we get 50, Bitcoin's going straight to the moon. If we only get 25, Bitcoin is going to go up. And I feel actually pretty strongly saying that. In addition to that, Cointelegraph put out an interesting post here on X where they said that according to Ledger, between 2.3 million and 3.7 million Bitcoin is permanently lost. This is 11% of the total supply. This is enormous. It's not just about the long-term holders that don't sell their Bitcoin. It's also about the people who forget about their Bitcoin or cannot access it. Okay, 11% of the total supply gone forever. Remember, there's only 21 million Bitcoin ever in existence, and 11% of that Bitcoin is gone forever. And what that means is, especially if you take a look at the Bitcoin exchange reserve, that there's just not a lot of Bitcoin available for people to go and buy Bitcoin on the exchanges for companies and individuals and stocks and funds to be buying Bitcoin. This continues to go lower and lower and lower. Just look at the all-time on the charts here. In addition to that, you take a look at the Value Bitcoin Spot ETF tracker. Not too impressive over the past couple of weeks. This is what happens with Bitcoin. You tend to see a cyclical nature to Bitcoin and the investing. You tend to get a lot of hype here, and then it dies down a little bit. And then you get a lot more interest and demand, and then it dies down for a little bit. And then you get a lot more interest and demand, and then it dies down. We are coming back into that cycle again, and we're going to wind up seeing, especially as the Bitcoin price rises, you tend to see more and more companies that want to keep Bitcoin on their balance sheets, that are treating it like a real asset, a real store of value, and that will also increase the Bitcoin price as well. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is that the CBOE is planning on launching a continuous futures for Bitcoin and Ether as well, and this is going to be on the 10th of November. This is just another trading product that traders can go and access in order to fuel some additional leverage in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Again, it's just more of a marriage between traditional finance and crypto, and I think this is actually going to be it's going to be net positive basically to Bitcoin. You're going to get more demand, and there's going to be more volume and more interest in these type of products. I wouldn't be surprised if we went up seeing some additional products offered by CBOE in the future, and if they do, I'll make sure I cover it on this channel. If you guys are interested in that, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you like, make sure you hit the bell button. That way you're notified whenever these videos come out. Let me know what you guys think. If you think it's going to be possible that we wind up hitting that massive $20 billion liquidation within the next couple of weeks, drop a comment below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.